The evening update for Thursday, September 27th. Water's clear, getting ready to go through a drain cycle. And here's our Budamus plants. Everything's just, look how tall they've gotten. Everything's getting so bushy and fat. Still battling the pH, and there's a shorter video that I will be adding that just shows my top-off water that I've had set aside for 3 days, a 5-gallon bucket that has an air stone in it, boiling off the chlorine and the water. It's just the tap water, and it's sitting. I'm still getting pH bounces in this system, but every time it bounces, it peaks back up to a lower high, if you understand what I'm saying there. But what I decided to do was go ahead and do a pH check on the top-off water, and the pH coming out of our taps here on my top-off water is 8.3. So that's where we were sitting for days and days before I started adding the phosphoric acid to the system. We were sitting at 8.3, so that makes sense. But it also makes me feel a lot better about the media that I'm using not causing the issue. If you have too much limestone in your gravel, then it basically can help drive your pH up. It's funny because a lot of the stuff that I read online, I see people talking about how their hard water is, causing them to have a pH of, 8. And this is some hard water. So anyways, I keep knocking it down, and I now know that I will need to treat all my top-off water, even the RO water in Mesa and Tempe here is very hard water. So we're getting on top of that. But an interesting development where we are 3 days from basically when I wanted to add some fish in. I was hoping that my pH would be under control and be able to go fishing tomorrow night, catch a couple of baby bluegill and bring them home. But we are having an ammonia spike. Now, the deal with that is there shouldn't be an ammonia spike unless you're adding some type of waste into the system. More urine, or some people treat their tanks with food, a little bit of food to start to decompose and cause ammonia, so that it just keeps the cycle going before you put fish in. However, I haven't been doing that, and I was starting to think maybe from the light that I use for the videos and when I'm out here, working on the bed in the evening, bugs are falling into the water, which is awesome, because once the fish are in, they will be getting supplemented diet of their natural food, just bugs. But the ammonia spike, I was down around 0.25 parts per million, and in the past 3 days, I am now sitting at 4. Too toxic for the fish. So I'm definitely not going to be adding any fish into the tank tomorrow until I get the ammonia under control and keep working on the pH. So where is that ammonia source coming from? I have a theory, and the theory goes like this. I put worms into this bed, just some night crawlers that we had, 3 days after I started cycling the system. In retrospect, that was probably way too early, because there's no organic matter in the bed to speak of. There's no fish waste. other than the initial dose that I had from the indoor tank. And so there's no leaf material. There's essentially, I put these worms into the bed and there's no food for the worms. So what I'm starting to think is we have had a die-off in the worms that I put into this bed, which, if they started to decompose, just like anything else, they're going to produce ammonia, and there we go. So we should be seeing, if there's more ammonia, if the bacteria is starting to grow, we should be seeing more nitrites. So my nitrite level has gone from a very low 0.25 on the color scale to a very solid 0.50. So we are having a little bit of a nitrite spike, and also in conjunction with that, if the nitrites increase and the bacteria is growing, and the bacteria colony is growing, then the nitrates should increase also, because the bacteria that converts nitrites into nitrates will be more abundant. And so my nitrates are sitting at over 40 right now, which is a lot of plant food. So the plants are digging it. The plants are doing real well. Everything is, in the bed. I am not real concerned right now about that. The whole deal is I want to put fish in the system, and it's just, there's too much ammonia and nitrite in the system for them to handle right now. So we'll just have to watch it, and you never know. By this Sunday, we might be right on target. It's, again, this is all pretty normal. Keeping the pH down, the ammonia won't really affect the plants too much, because they're just, there's a lot of conversion going on that ends up just meaning more food for them. It just means that the water is too toxic for the fish. Not unnaturally toxic, just too much ammonia. And just more patience. Patience. That's the one deal. And at the 6 to 8 week mark on this system, if everything stays where it's at right now, with everything that I've read, everything that I've viewed online, we are actually looking real good right now. So I'm not going to panic too much about the ammonia. We'll have to watch it over the next couple days and see what happens. And if it stays real high, then the drag part of it is I'll have to do a little bit of a water change, which will bump the pH back up, unless I have enough top-off water already ready to go that's been pH adjusted and dechlorified. Now, all of that brings me to another theory with this whole hard water and pH thing. For years and years, every time that I've grown, every time that I've thought that I've set up a grow bed in my dirt and everything that we're planting in the dirt around here, all of the fertilizers, all of the potting soils, all of the mixtures that everybody or have suggested, might not have really mattered, because once you go to water all of your potted plants especially, you're watering with very hard water at a very high pH, which basically has the plants in a lockout. So you can keep fertilizing, and you can think that you're underwatering or overwatering, when in actuality the soil, which I'm sure there's other tests to do. I don't have the systems to do that, but I'm sure you can find out the acidity or alkalinity of your soil and confirm or deny that. But I think it's a pretty solid theory that every time you water your garden in Mesa, Arizona, unless you're using treated water with a lower pH, you are basically locking the nutrients out of your plants. And you can just keep adding whatever or thinking whatever you want about it, but as long as the water alkalinity is so high, the plants just can't absorb the nutrients. So it might not necessarily be a failure in technique with your garden growing. It might actually be a component that you would least worry about, and it's just the water that you're actually putting into the garden. I think it's a fairly solid theory, because I've done everything with my my dirt gardens, and they look great for a little while, and then you start to see nutrient deficiencies, so you fertilize, and then we get to the summer and over 100 degrees and you can't fertilize, and you're still thinking or seeing a nutrient deficiency when everything should be fine with all of the different types of grow medias and different additives that you're putting into your soils. And it's just the water. As soon as you water your plants, you've basically sealed their fate, because they can't absorb the nutrients. Somebody needs to speak to somebody about this water here in Mesa. They don't want us growing stuff, apparently. So, anyways, that's where we're at. Ammonia spike to 4. Nitrite jumped up to 0.50. Nitrate is over 40, which is fine. It's real good, actually. That's plant food. And after another adjustment, right now my water pH went before the adjustment, my water pH was back up around 7.9 instead of bouncing all the way back to 8.3. So each time I'm adjusting with the phosphoric acid, I'm having less of a bounce back up. And so right now the water pH is sitting at, what did I write down? It went from 7.9 to 6.9, which if I could keep it at 6.9, I'd be one happy camper, and so will the plants and the fish as soon as the ammonia and nitrite levels drop. So keep your fingers crossed. Maybe this weekend everything is going to come into at least a usable balance, and we'll be able to put the fish in. But here's the plants, and you can see they're cranking. So we'll see you tomorrow.